Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Arvada City Council meeting for today, Tuesday, April 28, 2026. We do have quick need of a special meeting this evening before we move into our workshop presentations. So I will go ahead and ask Ms. Rush to do the roll call.
Mayor Simpson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Here.
Councilmember Ambrose.
Here.
Councilmember Davis. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Here.
Councilmember Griffith.
Here.
Councilmember Levison.
Here. All right. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
I move to excuse Councilmember Davis from this part of the meeting.
Absolutely. All votes will cast. All votes are cast. That passes 6-0. Councilmember Davis is an excused absence. We have one item on the special meeting, which is the motion to authorize retention of an outside investigator and/or outside counsel to pursue an investigation and administrative process under the Arvada Code of Ethics. Ms. Morris.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the council will recall, on February 3rd, 2026, council voted to allow the city team to retain an outside investigator and outside counsel to investigate and otherwise process an alleged ethics violation involving Councilmember Sharon Davis. On Wednesday, April 8th, the city team again received information concerning alleged facts, which, if proven in a proceeding permitted by our city code, may be a violation of the city's Code of Ethics, found in Chapter 2, Article 8 of the Arvada City Code. Pursuant to Arvada City Code, Section 2-378, the city team is again requesting that the city council vote on a motion to authorize the retention of an outside third-party investigator to pursue an investigation into this second set of alleged facts and to authorize the retention of outside counsel for the purpose of processing this matter.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
So moved.
All right, if everyone will pass. Vote. Councilmember Griffith, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Your Honor. Just simply to say that, as I'm sure anybody listening, I'm concerned. But I wanted to say that regarding this particular motion and this particular action, I would very much like to see the findings of the first investigation to be shared prior to the opening of a new investigation. So I will not be supporting this motion.
Councilmember Levison.
Similar to Councilmember Griffith, I too would like to see them and will also be voting no.
Quickly, Ms. Morris, may I ask a question procedurally, even though we have a motion on the table? Trying to think about how I say this. Since there is concern about the release of the findings prior of the first set of allegations prior to launching this new set, what is legal advice? What is the recommended legal advice? And perhaps this is a more appropriate question for Mr. Hoffman, who is also here.
Yeah, I'll defer to Mr. Hoffman on this one.
Good evening, members, Madam Mayor, members of council. Ultimately, this is your decision, but my recommendation would be to actually authorize the investigation into the second claim, because frankly, it could have the effect of, if the first investigation is released now, of impacting the overall process of council. Whereas if you have a quick investigation, and we believe this will be a quick investigation into the second allegation, and handle them together from a due process perspective, I think my recommendation would be that would be the better approach.
All right. So with that note, I will be following legal advice, and I will be supporting this motion so that we have all of the facts before us before we make any decisions. All right. With that, all votes are cast. That passes 4-2 with Councilmembers Levison and Griffith being dissenting votes. Thank you very much. We have no additional business for this special meeting, so I will adjourn the special meeting and I will open this evening's workshop. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman, very much. If somebody could return Councilmember Davis, we have 2 workshops this evening. Oh, just one. Sorry. We have the Solid Waste and Recycling Program workshop. Always one of my favorites.
Your Honor, could we call roll again real quick, just to
Yes.
make sure that we have that for the record?
Yes, City Clerk Rush, if you could do the roll call, please.
Mayor Simpson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Here.
Councilmember Ambrose.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Here.
Councilmember Griffith.
Here.
Councilmember Levison.
Here.
Quick note, Ms. Morris, I noticed that the workshop is technically noticed for 6:15 and it is 6:12. Are we allowed to proceed, or do we need to wait the 3 minutes?
So I would go ahead and wait the 3 minutes, just to make, in an abundance of caution, since it's a workshop, there's probably no real legal significance to it, but out of kindness to the people who may not be tuning in until 6:15 to listen to what the city team has to say, I feel like we should just wait the 3 minutes.
All right, 3-minute break, everybody.
So can I ask you, so as we get to this slide,
All right, it is 6:15. I hope everybody enjoyed that little leg stretch. Ms. Morris, do we need to do roll call a second time, or are we good from the first time?
You're good.
All right, all members of council are present and accounted for. We have our solid waste recycling program workshop this evening. Ms. Rhodes, it is so nice to see you.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. I'm excited to be here to propose some options that we're looking to get Council's feedback on. So I'm just going to do an overview of the agenda. We have a number of team members in the audience here who are ready to also jump in and help present information, answer any questions you have. But first, we're going to start with just a bit of a recap of some of the key questions we heard from our March workshop. We heard some questions about the Extended Producer Responsibility Program, what our update was, what we've heard from our customers through various program survey efforts. So we have some information and ready to share with you tonight. And we're going to talk through both the Republic service contract fees and associated court service fees, as well as the city program fees, including our broader city program fee and our enterprise fee, and get some of your direction on that. We're excited to share an update about the application we've put in for the Extended Producer Responsibility Program, EPR, you'll hear us call it for short tonight. We're excited to share with you some of the work we've been doing on the billing system, and just a preview, we have more work to do on the billing system, so we're going to provide you some updates there. what we're excited to do. And then, hopefully we'll get your direction and we'll be able to bring back that contract amendment and next steps. So just as a recap, first and foremost, I mentioned the Republic contract amendment. That's the first piece that we'll be seeking your direction on, but of course the city program fees. Also, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the enterprise fee, and you'll hear some of our team's recommendations as to how this fee can be critical for us to meet our fiscal responsibilities in terms of having adequate reserves for the fund, so we'll talk in detail about that. And our team is recommending some next steps for how we can bring composting to our community. And what that's going to look like, which our team is going to get into, is at least in the near term, making sure we set up a drop-off site that can be available in the immediate term, and then looking at options to include that both in our RFP for our next hauler contract. So we'll also get into some other options that we'll want your feedback there. I mentioned team members in the audience. I'm going to pass this over to Chris Gray, our infrastructure business manager, but we also have Debbie Reed, our utility services manager, our senior sustainability coordinator, Stephen Russell, our attorney, Jessica Morales, and our whole city staff here to help answer any other detailed questions that you have. So kick it over to Chris.
Welcome, Ms. Gray.
Thank you and good evening. Get my notes organized here. So as Jacqueline mentioned, we're here to follow up from our March 10th workshop with this group, and what we want to do is talk about those three areas of direction, and one of which is to talk about our fees. So our current fee structure is shown on the slide. Across the top, you'll see the different types of customers we have. So we have customers who have the small carts all the way up to the 95-gallon large carts. We have our opt-out customers, those who have chosen their own hauler. And then we have HOA customers who live in an HOA that does not participate in the city's program. And then along the left-hand side of the slide, you'll see the different types of fees that roll up to the bottom total per month. So we have the city program fee, the city enterprise fee, the trash and recycling cart replacement fees, and then the pass-through fees that Republic assesses to us, not only for their services, but also for what the state charges to them. And then finally, that minimum service opt-out fee. So this is current state for our fees for those different types of customers. What we're showing in this slide is the proposed fees. So what are we looking to have you adopt? Again, same slide set up, the different types of customers across the top, the different fee schedules along the left-hand side. You'll see the current fees in the strike out or strike through font, and then you'll see the proposed fees in the regular font. So the top line, the city program fee, which is the fee that is assessed to all of our residents, all of our customers to participate in the solid waste large item events, the leaf recycling events, and also pays for the administration of the fund. That would move up 5 cents from $1.69 to $1.74. The enterprise fee would remain the same, and we'll talk about that in a later slide. The cart replacement fees would remain the same, and then Republic's fees and the state fees would increase as per their contracted amount. The minimum service fee and the opt-out fee, same thing. It was held at $4.55 last year. That was a decision by City Council. Republic is holding those fees because we agreed as a city. City Council adopted the contract through 2028. So this contract is effective through early July of 2028. So you'll see those totals per month, what the increase is, and then what they are currently. So our 95-gallon customer, that's the most expensive cart size, would go from $22.45 per month to $23.25 per month. The opt-out customers would see a slight increase because of that city program fee, and then the minimum service fee customers, the HOA customers would also go up a slight amount as well. So the difference between these two slides is one of the requests we'll make of you at the end of the presentation. Some information that provides some context about those fees include this slide and the next one. So this is the key points to our Republic contract. So as you might remember, the contractual maximum increase that Republic can request is 3.5%. And that is only if the National Water Sewer Trash Index comes back at more than 3.5%. And the index as of this February was 4.89%, so the criteria has been met. And then again, Republic is passing through the state hazardous materials fees that they receive. And again, these are terms of the contract. The city program fee key points are that, one, we're looking to increase that cost by 5 cents per month. And this fee pays for the program administration, so the folks who answer the phone about billing, staffing, supplies, and the events. And I will say as a sidebar here, this past Saturday was our first event of the season. We had a fabulous turnout. 2,135 residents showed up to offload stuff they didn't want anymore. And what was really exciting was that we were piloting a metal recycling program. So we had 2 bins that rescued barbecue grills and lawnmowers and fencing from landfill, which was fabulous because it's really hard to see those things go into the landfill when they can turn around and be recycled. The city program fee is charged to all of our residents because they do all have the opportunity to come on a Saturday. The next one's on June 6th, and then I believe the last one is on August 15th, to drop off mattresses, all the things, and then we also have the leaf events, the leaf recycling, which is November 7th through 21st, I believe, this year. So everybody can benefit from that. This slide here shows the expenses that are related to the city program fee, the current fees and the proposed fees. So I will walk through some of these lines. What I want to make note of is that with the leadership of Don Wick and our city financial officer, Brian Archer, we've been doing a deep dive into our expenses across all programs in the city. So this program has received the same attention, and we are taking a very close look at what our expenses are and are we allocating the right costs to the fund. It is an enterprise fund, so it is designed and intended to operate like a business. We charge the fees so that the fund can operate accordingly. So at the top, we have the different types of expenses. We have the 2025 actual expenses and then the 2026 estimates. So we have salaries and benefits for 2.86 full-time employees. We are looking in 2026 to increase that number by a half-time temporary person to help us with the extended producer responsibility rollout. That is a thing we'll talk about later on in the slides, and it is some work for us to do. We're also looking at allocating all of the overtime costs for the events to the program as they should be. We have normal program expenses, bill printing, supplies, postage for the bills, all of our computers, equipment, things like that. We are, again, taking a look at what's being allocated to the fund and then making sure that in 2026 we allocate the right expenses to the fund. Same thing for large item drop-off events and our contracts for mattress recycling. We're looking at all of those costs. And then our internal transfers to the general fund, to the water fund, and our internal service funds, those have gone up as they are going up across all funds. A separate topic that was mentioned a little bit earlier is the enterprise fee. So the enterprise fee was set up back when the program was started to help repay a loan from the water fund. We needed money to buy carts. We borrowed money from the water fund, which had it. We've been paying that back, and that loan expired in December of 2025. So the 2025 actual expense for that repayment, that final loan payment, was about $375,000. Our recommendation is to maintain that $1.06 per month for each customer so that we can fund the solid waste fund reserve. And that would be, and you'll see on the math on the right-hand side under the 2026 estimate, about $217,000. So the number of participants in the program times 12 months times that $1.06. We're not recommending an increase, we're just recommending the maintenance of that fee on our customers' bills. So we talked last year a little bit about the fact that this fund didn't have an official fund balance reserve goal. And for our other enterprise funds, and I might lean on Mr. Archer in a moment, we have for the water fund, the sewer fund, and the stormwater fund a 25% goal. So 25% of our expenses we want to have as a, for lack of a better term, savings account to help us with unexpected needs, emergencies, things like that, so we can cover our costs. We didn't have an official version of that for the solid waste fund when it was set up originally. And last year when we talked to all of you, we said we were working on that process. And I believe it is still a work in progress, so we are making that assumption that we are going to move forward with the 25%. I might look at Mr. Archer and ask him to weigh in.
Thank you. Yes, that's absolutely correct. This is part of the City Council budget and fiscal policy that we need to bring to you for an update. So our proposal would be 25% for this fund to match our other enterprise funds, but we certainly are open to recommendations as well.
Thank you for that. So maintaining this fee keeps the fund balance in place at the recommended amount. If we didn't keep the fee, we have a couple of options. If we removed it altogether, we would not meet that reserve amount, and so we would not be compliant with our policy. If we chose to shift that cost to all city residents, not just the CART participants, we don't feel like that's the appropriate way to recover those costs. So we believe it is appropriate to maintain that $6 per customer per month for the CART participants, people who are in the actual program, so that we have that fund balance available to us as we need it. One of the ways that we have accessed that fund in the past is to help us with immediate needs for CART purchases. We don't know when people are moving into the city, and so we have this occasionally a slug of customers moving in, and we need to get carts for them above and beyond what we have in storage. And this is a helpful fund balance for us to be able to access for that. So I will switch topics to the extended producer responsibility update. I've got a few slides on that. We spoke back in March about where we are with that, what this actually is, so we'll recap a little bit of that and then give you some new information. So basically, it is a foundational reorganization of how recycling is approached in the state. The state adopted House Bill 22-1355, I believe, in 2022, or 2024. I'm looking at Mayor Pro Tem, who would know this by heart. Thank you. And it mandated that those industries and organizations that produce a lot of packaging actually put their money where their mouth is. They have to provide our customers with a refund or a rebate or a reimbursement for recycling services. So what we are doing is entering into a 5-year master service agreement with Circular Action Alliance, and that is the organization that Colorado is using to roll out this program. We are holding regular conversations with CAA, I believe weekly at this point. It will also work by the city providing monthly invoices to CAA based on the number of households who are in the city program receiving recycling, and then we will receive a retroactive payment to pass along to our customers. The law requires that we have a line item on our utility bills that explains what this reimbursement is, and so we are working to reconfigure our billing systems to comply with that. And you'll see the asterisk at the bottom of the slide. We have been negotiating a monthly billing exception with CAA. Their default is quarterly, so that conversation is still in play. So that's how it works, and here's where we are. The city team submitted our application before the deadline, which was April 13th, so just a few weeks ago. And they are processing our application. They have notified us that they have received it, and part of the process now is for them to work with our team and also Republic to ensure that the costs that we provided are all the costs, that they make sense. We did a lot of digging into numbers, as did the Republic team, and they have the ability to question us on some of that to make sure that the numbers that we provided are accurate and fair. And so we'll land on a number at some point, but they're in the middle of negotiating all of that. They received about 60 applications all at once, or at least in a very short timeline, so they're digging out of that. This spring, early summer, May, June, we will enter into negotiations for that master service agreement, and then we will process an amendment to our current Republic Services contract to make sure that we're aligning with the EPR program, and then we will come back to you and request your authorization for that. So as I mentioned, we are still working on pricing amount and pricing structure. No one in the past has isolated these costs before, so it did take a lot of work to make sure that we were not over-quoting and not under-quoting and trying to get the right number, and CAA will help us identify those costs. And then again, we are looking at finalizing that work not only with CAA and Republic in the spring, but also working on the billing system updates to make sure our bills reflect that information appropriately. So we are looking at a rollout this fall, and those dates are estimates. We're still working through the process. So again, switching topics, there's a lot in these 18 slides. We have some billing software updates for all of you. You've been asking for some work from us, and we are delivering on some of the things you've been asking for. So expanded online bill access is now available to all our customers, and you can go online, look at your bill, and we believe that's improved service for our customers to be able to look at things if they want to. So if you pay your bill by check, you can still go online and see what your bill amount is. We are in the final stages of testing for our auto pay services. So effective the middle of next week, a week from tomorrow, fingers crossed, we will be able to roll out an auto pay so you can put in your credit card and it keeps going. I know, that's an amazing thing.
Hallelujah.
I know. So thank you for your patience with that.
We're going from 1989 to 2026. That is awesome. Yes. No. Well,
Apologies, we don't mean to interrupt, Ms. Gray, but that is the best news all day.
It took a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, obviously, we've been talking about this for a few years, so.
well, I think it's going to help with the non-payments and some other issues.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a huge game changer for us.
Yes, so we're very excited about that. We will continue our budget billing process, so we recognize that some customers really rely on the fact their bill looks like one thing all the time, and they true it up at the end of their time period. So we're going to keep that going in-house for now, but we wanted to keep that for our customers. We are looking at some version upgrades, so you've heard us talk a lot about contingent upon software updates and contingent upon what our billing system can do. And so we continue to work on version upgrades to make sure that we are enhancing functionality for ourselves to give our customers a better product and also to improve our security features. We are fine with security, but there is always a need for updating security features. And we are looking at a full system replacement in the late 20s, early 30s. So that's down the road, but coming. Some software updates that are in progress involve watering restrictions and recycling credit. So as you all know and are very aware that we are in a drought, and so part of what we have rolled out in the rules for customers and our restrictions for our customers to make sure that we're preserving the city's water supply to the best we can, we are issuing waste of water violations, and those fees will show up on a customer's bill. We are also going to come and talk with you later on in May about potential surcharges that we'd like you to consider that could be a financial incentive for customers to manage their water use. And then again, the recycling credit that we've been talking about will be a line item on our bills that will show up and have very specific language along with the reimbursement that we're going to be providing. So we're testing those right now and getting ready to roll those out, but that's something that's coming and we'll keep you updated. The final topic that we'd like to discuss with you is the idea of composting for our customers. And part of what had been requested in the March workshop was some feedback about, or some data about community feedback. How many people are looking for this? How many people want this? And so we went back through a few different types of documents to get some understanding about what the responses have been. So Stephen Russell, our Senior Sustainability Coordinator, looked in the Waste Diversion Action Plan and the Climate and Sustainability Action Plan for public comments and survey results. For the Waste Diversion Action Plan, about 61% of respondents said that they were willing to compost if it was offered. 37% said that they are already composting at home, and I believe, Councilor Griffith, you are one of those people who composts at home. You mentioned that.
I do too.
Awesome,
I
okay.
pay a service.
From the CASIP, about 21 comments recommended providing composting service, and that was an open response, that wasn't a prompted question. Looking back at the city's overall annual community surveys, there were about 5 comments last year, specifically referencing composting. In 2024, there was 1 comment, and in previous years, there have been no comments. And then at the bottom, we do have some language that says that the Arvada Sustainability Advisory Committee talks about this as a topic for them that comes up very frequently during public outreach. So we are aware that there is an interest in it, and we will be asking for your direction on how to proceed with that. We have provided you with 4 options to consider, and I'll walk through each of those. There are some pros and cons for each of them. The first one would be to amend our existing contract to include subscription-based or opt-in composting. So this is going to be a higher cost per participant, between $15 and $20 per month. That is an estimate. There is a lower diversion potential. There are less efficient routes. You know, trucks have to popcorn around to find different homes on different streets. But it does preserve the resident choice of who they want to have as their composting provider. The contractor or vendor, Republic, I'm pointing behind me because Steve Gilmore is sitting right back here, does require a minimum number of households. So we would need 3,000 homes to sign up for this service in order to roll this out. Option number 2 is to amend our contract to include a citywide or opt-out composting program. So this is going to be a lower cost per participant, between about $5 and $7 per month, because we are requiring all of our customers to pay that cost. So you could opt out of the program, but you still have to pay into it. Because we are requiring it and it's an opt-out program, there would be a higher diversion potential because there are more efficient routes. Option number 3, and this is the staff recommendation. Option number 3 is to proceed with, in the near term, some drop-off composting sites or a site. And then when we go out later this year to put out to bid and then, or put out for proposal and then receive back proposals for this next solid waste and recycling contract, because Republic's contract expires in July, we need to have some, July of 2028, excuse me. We need to have something moving so that by that date, we have a seamless transition for our customers. So this would be, in the near term, have an interim self-managed option where we can have folks drop off their compost at a site on city property. There's a lower diversion potential in the near term because there's no pickup, and this is a do-it-yourself kind of thing. It would be a small footprint on city property, and then the program would be managed by Scraps. And staff has been talking with Scraps, we just haven't finalized anything yet with them. And again, that is the city team recommendation. The fourth option is to take no action and to rely on private composting organizations to fill that need. So doing a little bit of research, there are 2 firms that I am aware of, Compost Colorado and Scraps, who offer private composting. They charge amounts comparable to the first option, between $15 and $20 per month, more on the $20 end.
I pay $25 a month for Compost Colorado.
There we go. Some very specific information. So it is something that our customers who are very interested in that could take part in. So before we wrap up the presentation part, or as we wrap up the presentation part of the workshop, I will again reiterate the requests for direction that Jacqueline mentioned early. The first one is not a request for direction. We are required to pass along the costs from Republic, so I apologize, number 1 shouldn't actually be there. Number 2, should we increase the city program fees by 5 cents? And those again fund the program administration and then the large item and leaf recycling events. The next request is, should we maintain the enterprise fee at $1.06 per customer per month, per cart customer per month, to ensure that we comply with our enterprise fund balance policy? And then number 4, should we proceed with implementing a near-term drop-off composting pilot program? And then as we move forward with the request for proposals for the next contract, do we include composting as a bid alternate in that process? So I will wrap up the presentation part of the workshop with a timeline of next steps. So tonight we're talking to you, we're following up from March 10th, getting ready for our June 16th now adoption request. On July 1st, those new rates would be effective. We have a couple of to-be-determined dates. One is finalizing that master service agreement with CAA and Republic. We also need to receive the reimbursements, and then we also need to provide those credits on our customers' bills, along with robust community notifications and outreach so that customers are aware of what we're doing. Also, to be determined, working with Republic on the amendment to reflect that extended producer responsibility. We would come back to you for that. We talked a little bit in the last workshop about what's coming up for that request for proposals. So the end of this year, we put it out to the community to respond. We spend 2027 and 2028 selecting, negotiating, awarding, and then implementing that next contract. Again, so that our customers have a seamless transition. We will have another request to adopt rates in 2027, and then July 1st, 2028, we would have a new contract in place. So I will stop there, and we do have some appendix slides to speak to if you'd like, and I will actually take it back to the requests for directions slide and open it up for questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. And I'll first acknowledge, I know how much work has gone into working on the EPR work, and so I really want to express my gratitude to the whole team on working on that and getting us into a good place, I think, with applying and getting that reimbursement for our residents. So thank you for all that work. I have a couple questions. One is on slide 8. If we could go back to that, please. So that second line, normal program expenses, is it correct that in 2025 the actual was $1,000 and in 2026 the estimate is $148,000? That's quite a jump.
It is correct. So as I mentioned on this slide, we are taking a deep dive into how our costs have been allocated. One of the things that we have been looking at, as this is an enterprise fund that shows up on the utility bill, the costs of the bill should be spread across the funds that are on the bill. And so we have been working towards putting postage and billing and printing on the solid waste fund in an appropriate manner. We did not do that in 2025. So in 2026, we are looking to shift those costs away from, I think right now they default 100% to the water fund. And so we are looking at making sure that each fund, as it should, pays its expenses. So it is correct. You did notice that correctly, and we are taking a deep dive into that.
Okay. Well, thank you for that explanation. So going back to your 4 questions, I'm supportive of your recommendations. There it is, thank you. 1 through 3, obviously we have to amend the contract, or amend the pricing increase, and that falls in line with our contract. Increase the city program fees, which fund the program, and I think given, the popularity of our large item and leaf collection, we don't have really any other options for our residents currently for those services. So I want to continue funding those at the right level. So I would support number 2. And I think my understanding of the enterprise fund and how that works, I think we want to continue that balance. And so I would support number 3. I guess where I have some differences on number 4, the recommendation regarding compost. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I think in going back, can we go back to the compost option slide,
Yes.
please? Thank you. So I think, in any other year, I think having the approach that you're taking would make some sense. I think given where we are this year, with the opportunity that we have presented before us with EPR, in which we're going to be getting, funding from the state for our recycling program, we really have this great opportunity to look seriously at option 2. And that, in my communication with Steve, who's here in the audience from Republic, more than one occasion he has confirmed to me that we would be able to cover the costs of that option 2 with the refund we're getting from EPR. So if you go to slide 22, which is in your appendix slides, which shows where we fall, I think for the 5-gallon cart selection and where we fall in comparison to our peers, what that would mean is that where the Arvada sits when the highlighted blue, and that's with the, as I understand, the current rate increase proposal, that's where we would fall. We would be able to maintain that price and become a green bar, meaning that we would be able to add both the collection at curbside of our yard trimmings and our food scraps, and maintain that price right there. And so we would be one of the lowest of the cities offering that service and still be able to add a service without adding a cost to our customers. So I think that's something we really need to take seriously, because that opportunity is now. And that would really take us to the next level in our waste diversion efforts. And being able to provide that without having to charge an additional cost is significant for us to consider. And given that we know we continually have this growing interest, and I know I've spoken to this before about, when we made the change to the single hauler program for waste and recycling, the number of constituents said, well, I'm not going to come into the program because I have so much yard trimmings to be collected. And then we also hear a lot of, folks who say, well, I can't participate in the leaf collection because I don't have a truck to take it there. So there are these barriers that are still in front of folks who want to participate in organics material recycling and cannot. And this will enable us to provide that to them at the curb like we have for recycling and trash. So I really want us to look at seriously that option 2 right now, given this opportunity that we have with getting the reimbursements for recycling and being able to make that, put that towards adding a new service and not raising our costs significantly and putting us up in this higher end where we see our other cities are with compost services. And I think, if I understand correctly, if we wait until we put it out for bid, then that's 2 years that we would not be having curbside organics collection service. And I think that's a huge, a missing opportunity for our residents who we can be providing sooner if we consider option 2. So that would what I want to say to that.
Councilmember Ambrose.
Thank you. I wanted to just make sure I understood on the enterprise fund, that balance slide, making sure. Can you walk me through a scenario where we don't approve to continuing paying this $1 a month because we've paid the water fund back, but the cost will be passed on to every person in the city rather than the people who actually use this service? Is that because we would, raise fees in order to maintain the fiscal policy regarding this?
Yes. So again, one option is to not to remove the fee entirely, which would then not keep us in compliance with the policy. If we wanted to keep compliance with the policy, but not have that fee show up, then we would have to transfer that dollar need to all of our customers to pay it.
Okay. And then after this balance of $217,000 is achieved, does the fee keep happening, or does it go away because we've actually achieved the balance, or is it going to be a refunded item? Like what happens after we reach that amount in 26?
So that would be proposed to continue annually. We do have a 10-year model that we use to make sure, as with all of our funds, at the end of 10 years, we are maintaining a positive balance and we are meeting our fiscal needs. We would revisit that on an annual basis to see where we are, and then if we don't need it anymore, we can revisit that. But at the time, for right now, we would keep it.
Okay. And then on the city program fee being increased by 5 cents, we need that increase because of the more accounting that the more accurate accounting that we're doing for how much the program actually costs?
In a way of speaking, yes. So what's
Okay.
not on this slide is what the 2025 budget was. So we budgeted for a number of the things that didn't happen necessarily, like transferring the costs of printing and postage to this fund. The 2025 budget was $822,000. So the increase between 2025's budget and 2026 estimate or budget is a combination of some salaries and benefits. So we have that 0.5 temp that we would like to increase or add to the program to help us with the EPR reimbursement work. And then additional costs like the internal transfers.
Okay. And then on slide 15 with option 2, so this, the third bullet under number 2, where residents can opt out but still will pay into the program, how much is that?
It would be that lower cost per participant, somewhere between $5 and $7 is what I believe we're thinking right now. So you would pay, it's similar to the minimum service fee, opt-out fee that we have for our current customers.
So it increased by another $5 to $7, even if they never use the compost?
Yes.
And then another question I have is with Councilmember Mormon's proposal of the refund paying for all composting, what does that proposal look like? I mean, like financially, we don't really see it presented here, so I'm a little confused as to what are still the fees that we would have to pay. Like, you know, this, if we got the reimbursement from the recycling program, for example, would that third bullet point be a moot point because composting would be paid for? So, so it's hard to know exactly what, when we don't have that scenario presented in front of us.
Right. So I know that the Republic team has been working on compost costs for the city of Arvada, so we haven't, I don't think, we have not finalized those on the city team side. I will ask Steve to come down and speak to that in a moment. So it would look like if that's how we moved forward, we would show a reimbursement on the bill, and then we would show a charge on the bill.
Okay.
If I can speak to your comment, and then Mayor Pro Tem, your comment, one of the reasons that the city team recommendation is to hold off for the time being is that we are concerned about ensuring that we provide a very transparent process for our customers and our residents. We want to make sure that they see and understand what we're trying to do, and so our concept in this number 3 option is more of a stepwise. So first we do the reimbursement, then we work on composting. All along that way, we start communicating with our customers about this is a service we would like to offer, this is what the cost will be, and obviously what this body determines is what will roll out. The recommendation is more along the lines of a more robust communication and taking it step by step versus having them both happen at the same time.
Okay. Do you want to speak to this?
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to add, there is some required language through our work at the CAA that will have to be included on the customer bill that says recycling's provided at no charge to customers. So we'll make sure, I know there's been some past questions about what the bill print looks like, and we'll make sure that we include the required notes around recycling being provided at no charge.
Okay, thank you. And then my final question is, with the billing improvements, I assume that didn't happen for free, right? Like, to be able to have that, we have to have a new fiscal system and update our systems and to be able to accept credit cards on auto pay and all of those things. Are those costs reflected in the upcoming budget?
Those costs are reflected. So part of, if I go back to that slide, if you look at the expenses, part of what is in that normal program expenses is also our contract with the vendor, the billing vendor.
Okay, so I would like that, it would be great if that was clear to customers, as that's one of the reasons why we're asking for the 5 cents, or we're asking for the dollar, or asking for those things, is that we are modernizing our payment systems for their convenience. And that's part of why it costs more because now we're not like, we only accept checks, like that we have a better system.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I have to agree with Councilmember Ambrose. I was a little concerned about the billing as well. But you did clear this up, but I just want to make it clear in my mind that the $5 to $7 that would be added is actually not going to be added and is it additive to the current $6 and some odd cents that we're paying now? I just want to make that clear that it's still going to be $6 and some odd cents, and it's not going to be $11 and some odd cents a month?
To be clear about your question, are you asking about the composting option?
The number 2. Yeah.
Okay.
That was my question, because we already pay for the opting out for the solid waste piece. If we opt out of the compost piece, is that an additive $5 to $7 to that already existing $6.50?
$6.50 for
opting out of solid waste pickup.
Thank you. I just wanted to provide clarification. And again, we might invite Republic to also clarify what's in this current estimate. While you can opt out, meaning I don't want to receive that cart, you're going to be paying this $5 to $7 a month for that composting service regardless. For customers who opt out, that opt-out fee is locked in at the $4.55. For all other customers who participate in the program for cart service, they will be including this additional $5 to $7 a month.
Okay, thank you. That makes it clearer. Yeah. And then, so yard waste specifically, especially in some of the older neighborhoods, is an issue, but it's a seasonal issue. And so if I opted into the compost situation, I would have to pay for that cart every month regardless of if I put nothing in it?
Yes,
Okay.
because that is how the cost, for the opt-out, that's how we keep the cost low, is by having everybody pay for it. Similar to, as Jacqueline mentioned, our existing opt-out fee.
Right, okay. All right, I had one more question, but it escapes me right now. I am supportive of the city team's recommendation to get us started in the right direction so that people understand where we're going. And I do agree with Councilmember Ambrose, this is my point, that yes, more outreach and education, more explanation of that extra nickel for accounting purposes, for administrative purposes, and then also how the cart fee works. And then when somebody sees a charge and then they see the removal of the charge, they don't see the removal part, they just see the charge. And I mean, I'm guilty of it as the next person. I don't always read the fine print. And if my bill is automatically going to be paid, hallelujah, then I won't receive a bill at all. And so, that's also an additional, some outreach and education. So I would just encourage that we socialize this as much as possible.
Councilmember Griffith.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll start off by saying I agree with the staff recommendations, the 4 recommendations. I think they're the right step right now. I just wanted to call a little bit of attention to slide number 5, where we have the different levels and the opt-out fee. I just wanted to point out that, absent a, removal of the opt-out fee, which some residents would certainly like, I do appreciate that the increase overall for the opt-out fee is a 0.8%. Versus all of the other tiers, which are 3.6, 3.5, 2.7. I think that shows a sincere effort to really maintain the lower rate for our residents that are only in the mandatory segment of this chart. And as a participant, I fall into that category for a number of reasons, but I do participate in large drop-off, and I think it's a very well-run program, and I think a nickel for access to those 2 dates, I think is a pretty significant bonus for our residents. Just wanted to bring attention to that. I am very curious about the potential offset for the cost for the composting. I'm very cautious to get deeply involved in a conversation that could land eventually to a larger bill for our residents if that program sunsets or doesn't go forever. I feel a little, I don't have all the information, so it's hard for me to really comment heavily on what I like about that. But when I hear that there's a potential to offset another potential offering, especially compost, because I do compost. And sometimes there are things that I don't compost at my house, like chicken bones and things for rat reasons. But if those are things that I could put into a bin and it wouldn't affect my bill, I'd definitely be interested in hearing a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will ask Steve Gilmore at this point after Jacqueline shares if he can give us a little bit more information, but Jacqueline, you first.
I was going to try and take a stab at answering that too. Our current application in with the EPR includes estimates for what this reimbursement could look like. Right now, that reimbursement would fully cover the cost estimates that we have from Republic to introduce the curbside composting fee. Again, we didn't want to present those numbers this evening because we don't have a negotiated master service agreement with CAA, and we'll be bringing that to council for approval, along with any associated with Republican amendment. But that is what our current estimates are showing, is that we can cover that cost. The couple of risks involved is our city team admin time to stand up the new service, and that will take some time. So we're estimating about 6 months from when we can get through the credit process, the updated agreements with council authorization, and then the billing system upgrades, testing, and then apply for a grant for purchasing new carts, and then rolling that out to our customers. So that's a timeline perspective that we're anticipating next spring, if you were to pick option 2 that we could try and work towards. But also, as we mentioned, this RFP for the renewed hauler contract, we would be getting new pricing for July 2028 through that process. And so what we can't also predict is what that new pricing will look like. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the benefits of the city's current contract with Republic and being locked in at that 3.5% increase and being locked in at that $4.55 minimum service fee could look very different in future years when we assess the proposals for the next hauler contract. So those are just a couple of things I wanted to add. And of course, I do want to invite Republic up to help provide additional information as well.
Good evening. Steve Gilmore, Republic Services. I'm a municipal relation manager. So Jacqueline is spot on in terms of the numbers. What we're estimating currently that would pay for or a curbside organics program would be totally covered by the EPR reimbursements. So literally on the bill, it would show, so in terms of the questions on the opt-out, this would only impact folks that are in the program. So the EPR reimbursement would come to those folks on their bill. It would show the curbside organics part, and on the bill, it would be literally a wash. So to Council Members Mormon's point, that the city of Arvada would have the lowest rate with a 3-cart program in the entire state of Colorado.
Can I just want to make sure I heard you correctly,
Yeah.
though. So that sounds great if you're participating in the program, but if for whatever reason you decided not to, you would have to pay the extra fee.
No.
No, you would not.
No.
So
So
no-
what we've heard actually from a lot of the opt-out folks, 7,600 of them, is that they will very much like to join the program. We've heard a lot of that from a lot of residents. I mean, I think the reality is there's some HOAs that are also out of the program that would likely jump into the program. We've heard kind of in our engagement within the community, we've heard that time and time and time again. There's a massive amount of interest in organics.
Okay, so I'm sorry to be blunt here, but
Sure.
If I'm in the program, I don't have to pay it because it's reimbursed.
Yes,
If I'm not in the program, I don't have to pay it because it's
Correct.
reimbursed.
correct.
I mean, that sounds pretty good. What's the downside?
So how the contract is set up, right, the opt-outs are not in the program. So the organics part that we're talking about are going to be added to the program itself. So out of the 19,000 people, households that participate in the program, they would all have access to curbside organics as soon as the amendment is agreed upon. And the timing, of course, of when the carts are going to roll out and all that, those detailed pieces of information.
Okay, and then maybe the concern if there's an amendment is that we could lose those locked-in rates. Is that, I'm trying to figure out where the downside is to this. Like, what is the trade-off?
So, I mean, really, I don't see a trade-off from my perspective. City of Superior, they actually implemented a 3-bin program a year ago. They went from a diversion rate of about 20% to 40%. You will see the same numbers here. You're about 18 to 20%. Your diversion numbers are going to go to 40, maybe a little bit more than that. So what that means is that's material that's not going to the landfill.
Okay. And staff's recommendation here is to hold for the time being, but we could still do this at a later date? Like, we could still have the organics pick up and still have the offset and everything?
I mean, the reality would, it would have to be connected to the RFP, right? And you're talking about an RFP that won't actually start or a new contract that wouldn't start until July of 28. So you would lose basically 2 years worth of opportunity to divert material from the landfill, which in turn generates methane and all sorts of bad stuff that's, bad for the environment. And maybe one of the reasons that we're seeing the drought that we are currently is because of the climate change conditions that are happening.
And I acknowledge that, and I think that's a point that's valid and worth making. One of the things I'm concerned about is it seems like from staff there's an interest in really getting up to speed. And what we're looking at tonight is we're going to add a nickel to the bill because we had a couple of accounting things that we were trying to sort out, now we are. So I'd love to accomplish the things that you're saying that would be of environmental benefit, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves if we have some things to do logistically to be well-positioned to actually do this program.
Yeah, and I think staff has come up with a good plan in terms of what, if the council were to direct them to do and work with us over the next few months, I think there's plenty of opportunity to roll out a very effective plan that would actually be, would hit the ground on the timeline that staff recommended, which I believe was spring.
Okay. Thank you. Those are all my
Yeah.
questions.
Councilmember Levison.
Thank you so much. So I think it was slide 22, the timeline. Oh, just kidding. I was wrong. The time, I think, back a few slides. The wrong one written down.
Timeline, this one?
Yes, perfect. So I'd just like to wrap my head around the timeline. So first of all, I deeply support composting and other sustainable programs, but I think sequencing matters. This is requiring behavioral change, so we need to make the sustainable choice the easiest choice and kind of piloting to see, are people interested? Are they willing to drive and drop stuff off? Are they willing to pay extra? So my first question is just the clarification on the timeline. I know July 2028 is when the contract is renewed. Is that when we would be applying the EPR, or it sounds like we're also discussing the potential to do it sooner? So just some clarification on those dates.
So for the staff options for composting, option 4 would mean that we'd be rolling out curbside, as you mentioned, July 2028 if you go with option 4. Option 2, as we've been discussing, to include it in the Republic Services contract now, our team is recommending a stepwise approach where we implement the EPR credit, do our billing system upgrades and testing, work on the grants for securing the carts, and then implementing the new service. We're anticipating spring of next year would be the earliest we could do that. And we have a couple of other opportunities to come back to council for checkpoints along the way. So again, the approval of the master services agreement with Climate Action Alliance and the approval of another amendment with Republic would come before you, and we'd be able to provide updates at that time. I did want to just provide a couple of additional points to just clarify some of the earlier discussion. When we shared this cost comparison across this or other private haulers, we will, through EPR, start to see regional costs decrease as other agencies also pursue agreements with CAA and help achieve those recycling at no cost to their customers. So essentially, others that participate in EPR will also be seeing these credits. And really, as to your question, really this is just about timing. The city team is committed to make this happen. We want this direction from the council tonight. We're just recommending a stepwise approach to how to get there. And the alternative and the challenge in this, that is a customer education component, is we just want to talk about the timing, because if customers start to see that credit applied and their bill go down, and then we implement a new service and it goes back up with the new service, we want to be clear in how we're talking to the community about that. And we're trying to be careful in terms of our commitments to be able to roll this out in a timely and effective way. And so that's why we're trying to talk through some of this with the council tonight.
Awesome. That one's incredibly important. I think seeing the reimbursement at a time when everyone's raising costs to be able to show that we're lowering them. And I think, too, if we want the long-term sustainability outcomes, we need residents to trust the system and to build those habits first. My last question, I think we mentioned it a little bit. Have we done some pretty good reaching out and lessons learned from the 5 other cities that have done this, just seeing what their approaches were and lessons learned, barriers, all that jazz?
Yeah, so Republic is the only provider that's currently managing those curbside programs other than the city of Denver. So what I would say is Superior is a great example where their timeline to implement their program was only 3 or 4 months. So it doesn't take a long period of time to educate people about what to throw in your bin. It's not that complicated. And quite honestly, we have seen very little to no contamination from Superior. None. Very clean, good material. They've been recycling for a while, so we kind of anticipated that, but their organic stream is very clean.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
And when the organic stream's not clean, you just throw it away?
Great question. Actually, we have a new transfer station located at Foothills Landfill that will actually have temporary workers actually pulling material out of the stream, landfilling that material there. We also have a trammel that will actually clean up the stream. So once it hits the piles in terms of composting at our facility, it should be about 99.7% clean.
Okay. All right, thank you. I want to go back to Councilmember Griffith's conversation around the opt-out side. I want to be crystal clear because it sounded like there was ping pong going on there. The opt-out folks there is no credit or debit happening on their bills. They're just not affected in this process at all.
That's, as I understand this, if you see the reimbursement on your account and we do composting, it will be a minus dollar amount plus dollar amount.
But that's only on those that are in the program.
Yes.
Those that opt out should not see the credit or the debit.
Correct. So the folks that have opted out are actually in the open market. So the open market EPR program will not start until September time period.
Okay.
So they will then receive a credit from their current provider if they're actually doing recycling.
Okay, so they are not part of the program at all.
Correct.
I just want to make sure our bills are not messing up that confusion. All right, I think I'm good there. And I'm not familiar with the program that much. How long is this credit? Is it forever? Is it funded forever? Okay.
And it will be in place, so the city will sign a 5-year contract. So my understanding is that dollar amount stays in place for 5 years, and then it's reevaluated after that time period. And you want to add more?
Yeah, I was just going to clarify again, it's a credit for recycling, so recycling's provided at no cost, and the timing issue that we're talking about, how to roll out the new service for composting, helps represent a total household cost for a diversion goal that we have as a city. But the credit and the 5-year agreement is specific to recycling costs and how we provide that at no cost to our customers.
So I'm going to just talk out loud, and then you can go on to my mental trip through this. So I'm all for composting, but I'm trying to think through the whole process of folks that I'm thinking of the communication. I'm thinking about how do we explain this. I mean, it's taken us a while to get where we are today. How do we make sure it's successful, right? Because part of my concern is, how if somebody just doesn't want to compost? They just, okay, fine, I opt out, but I kind of get screwed because technically my bill went up and down. So I kind of get frustrated with the city. So now the person that's opted in starts getting mad and wants to opt out because they would have rather just take the credit and not force me to do composting. I just want to make sure we're like how this is playing out, because I'd rather have composting and as an opt-in. I don't want to walk in and think that everyone needs to compost now. All 20,000 households, they must compost. Well, you can opt out, but you're still going to pay. But don't worry about it because you get a credit. It just seems a little weird for those people that may not want to compost.
I think that's completely fair, and option one is something that we could include in an amendment with Republic, as well as we bring forward any proposals received as part of the contract renewal for the next single hauler contract in July 2028. We can be really clear about each of those service costs to our customers as well. So I think that's a fair statement.
Or could we be a little innovative and do something to the fact of, okay, fine, you get, I think you had in here, where was it, minimum household of 3,000. So we hit 3,000, they pay whatever, $15, $20. And when we hit marks of people opting in, that price goes down. So in other words, if I had a 10,000 mark, it goes to $10. If I hit the 19,000 mark, it goes to $5. So, people that opt in are knowing, like the mayor, who's already paying $25, you're paying to play. But you benefit when your neighbors opt in, because everyone starts saving money. I like that approach a little bit better because it slowly introduces composting to a community that's maybe not as familiar with composting. And then people are paying to play, and we're not forcing it. So I don't know how that credit looks in there, but I'm not a fan of all these, actually. If I was to do any, it'd be what staff's recommending, which is 3. But then I think there's a barrier to get folks to compost a little bit, or 4, to be honest. You wait till a new contract and we figure out a plan. But I think in this composting area, I think people are interested in it. I'm not sure everyone understands it completely and what's expected. So I don't know. Could you do a tiering? If every 3,000 customers we bring you lower the bill.
So the challenge with that sort of mechanism, right, is, with your position, right, at CDOT, the reality is that this is a capital-intensive business, right? So to actually pro forma that, to actually make that work, it really is difficult because trucks are expensive, people are expensive.
But we're paying the higher rate. So do you have to understand, we're paying
The
the higher
challenge
rate.
is with that rate, at the $15 to $20 range, you're not going to have widespread participation. It would be very challenging to get to 3,000. Very challenging. I mean, if you were to take a look at Recycle Colorado's footprint here, it's probably maybe 1,500 homes at the most. So, these subscription type systems are not cost effective. It adds another truck on the road. Chaser routes are problematic because that truck is going all over the place. So my recommendation would be either do 3 or 2.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find an innovative approach with our community who's going to.
The
I think we're
challenge, the
forcing-
challenge is that the costs are so extraordinary where it comes to trucks and people. A truck costs $150 an hour to operate, right? So if you think about those costs, it's challenging to have chaser routes and that sort of thing with the subscription-based system.
So why is number 1 an option then?
Well, it really is. My preference would be 2, of course.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. But 3, I think, is probably the 2. I would stay away from entirely a subscription-based model. It is not great. It's not the right approach. The density and the route efficiency that we receive when it's a citywide program, you just can't. It lowers the cost substantially. Fort Collins has a seasonal program, which is very, very expensive because those trucks sit for 4 months out of the year where they don't move. The reason that the monthly service is better is because it spreads that cost out throughout 12 months. It makes it effective, and there are opportunities throughout a 12-month time period where you will get yard waste, wind damage for trees, branches falling down, a wide variety of things. So we do not see a huge dip in Golden, Lafayette, and other communities during winter months. There's a little bit of a dip, but we still receive large amounts of material from all those communities year-round.
Okay. Because some people are just say, well, I'll just put it in the trash. I just can see that just happening. I don't know, there's something here. I'm with Mike a little bit around this because I'm trying to look for the downside of this argument. Because I do see the fact that, hey, it's a wash, it makes sense. But when the wash is gone, when that credit is not there, we only have it for 5 years. It's a state law here, but it sounds like every 5 years it could be looked at. Is it?
No.
And people can repeal it.
So the reason that CAA has a 5-year agreement is that they were the pro that was picked, the Product Responsibility Organization, by CDPHE. They have that agreement through that time period. They will then have to win that business back again from Colorado 5 years from now.
Okay. Because I see a dilemma here. The dilemma, obviously, and I think it's been set up here, is it's easy to introduce a program at a net zero. You know, it's more difficult to introduce a program where you see a credit and then now an increase. So I get that as well. But I also worry about the change management and the communication between now and then. And then where is the public input into that process? You know, I don't want to be talking to the public 2 months before it's kicked off. You know, if we're going to go down, say option 2, I think we need to have like public meetings maybe next week, you know, because we've already been through a conversation around trash once. I want to make sure that, you know, we do everything thoughtfully enough to let everyone do it, because I think it's a great idea. I'm definitely a supporter of it. I just want to make sure that people understand the financial impacts or lack of, or understanding their billing, and that we are 100% transparent on what we're doing. You know, we're getting credit for recycling, but we're going to add composting.
Actually, I'd like to just weigh in for a second, if I might.
Yeah.
Councilor
Oh,
Pfeiffer,
sure.
thank you so much. I just want to share from the city's leadership perspective, what you just articulated is exactly our concern around, while we agree, like this, it looks like the perfect time, it's the community trust aspect of this that we're really, really concerned about. We have an amazing team. However, they are not going to be ready to implement this when the first credits come in. We're not. We have a lot of work to do to get bins, carts, systems. This is also the team that's handling a lot of the drought customer service issues. So when we talk about dreaming big and delivering, this is dreaming big. It's great, but our concern from the leadership perspective, why number 3 is the team recommendation, is because from the leadership perspective, we want to make sure that we're doing this right for the community. So I just wanted to say, before Mr. Gilmore chimes in, that I thank you. That's exactly why we're here recommending this.
And that's why I was leaning towards number 3, is because I feel that buys the time and the introduction and so forth to kind of get that. So I do support the recommendation. I'm just trying to, you know, kind of war game everything we have, because I hate to see the bill drop and then pick up, but because I think it's a harder hill to climb. So to answer your question on your 4, I support all of your recommendations on your 4 questions.
Thank you. So I see a bunch of lights, but if my colleagues will allow me, I do have some questions that I would like to bite at the apple before. Okay, so for the first 3, yes, 1, 2, 3, I think that makes 4 or 5 of us who have said that. So I think we have very clear direction on moving forward with 1, 2, and 3. So the conversation's really happening around item number 4. So we can go to those options now. All right, so I'm going to talk about these, and then I do, actually, you know what, just to get these out of the way, Mr. Archer, I do have just a couple of quick questions on the finance piece. We're talking about having a secure fund balance, 25%, it's our policy, but what we didn't talk about is, why do we have that policy to begin with? What does having a reserve fund balance get us?
So in an enterprise fund, it helps us ride the tide, for lack of a better term. If we have a period of time that we see reduced customers, or carts go up in cost, or we have an emergency, we can draw on that fund balance and then balance it out as we move forward. If we ever have to issue debt, it also helps us in the market, because a bond individual or somebody who is going to buy our debt will know that we can pay that back. So that's really the 2 main reasons. It's also a TABOR requirement. The 3% is a TABOR requirement. But here at the city, we obviously do a little bit more than that.
Excellent. And so we mentioned we would build the reserve fund. Then what happens? Does it go away? Do we hold it? I realize that's probably an extended conversation. But do we have savings for future costs? For instance, we had to get grants to buy all the carts. We just finished paying that back. Do we want to start saving for the cart replacement into the future?
Yes, that would also be built into our 10-year plan. And so while we would have a larger fund balance that would be used to replace the carts over time, the team does a really good job of separating those 2. And so as we're putting money away to save for carts, we then have a separate fund that would act as our fund balance.
Excellent. And since we have these funds sitting around for years on end, do they capture interest to offset inflation?
Yes, Mayor, that's a great question. All of our funds are pooled and invested in the market, and right now, we're returning about a 4% return.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you for finance. All right, back to the main topic of which ones are we going to pick here with the path forward, because I can see both. So digging in a little bit, though, I want to kind of tease out what the implications of option number 3 are, because have we identified a city site that a drop-off would be available for people to drop their garbage?
For option,
Compost.
excuse me.
So, well, it's compost, but also quickly a point, we were talking a lot about branches and leaves and grass clippings and yard waste. As somebody who composts year-round, trust me, there is plenty in those winter months. There are pizza boxes and paper towels and chicken bones, to Councilmember Griffith's point, and all kinds of things, leftovers that have been in my fridge for way too long and have started to smell. There are plenty of things to put in your compost bin, and trust me, it stays busy year-round. So that is sort of my question. It gets pretty smelly and it gets pretty gross. What would be the city identified location for a drop-off site?
The drop-off sites we're currently investigating are either the Arvada Center, I believe, or one of the city properties, the Indiana Shops.
Okay, the reason why is, are there residents near these locations?
I'm not quite sure where on the Arvada Center property it would live. That is a large campus, so I would imagine it is not going to be close to those. The Indiana Shops, there are also residents to the west of that and much further to the north, but I don't believe anybody would be impacted by that.
My concern is the smell.
Yes.
I have a compost bin. It can get pretty darn stinky. And in terms of I would need to see at least a football field before we started having people start dropping their smelly leftovers onto a drop-off site. So I'm just going to say it right now, the Arvada Center is highly inappropriate for that. I know it is a large campus, but we have the sculpture area. Yes, we have the detention area in the back, but there are houses along that fence line. And I don't think it would be fair of us to say, here, we're going to put a compost heap behind your backyard, because what we're not dropping off is the nice black stuff we like spreading on our lawns. What we're dropping off is the digested, broken down, what's the word, decomposed items. And so that would need to be away from residents. So that's one question I would have before being comfortable with the drop-off site, is where is it, and are we able to protect the residents of that area from having to engage with that odor? And so in terms of that, what would happen with the compost as it broke down? Would we have a pickup where residents could come and pick some up like we do with wood chips, or would the city be using it on our own parks and properties?
I'm going to lean on Stephen Russell to speak a little bit to the scraps concept.
Hello. So we're currently in discussions with Scraps, a local composting company. It's an Arvada-based company. We have discussed drop-off sites that are in fully contained containers that are serviced regularly. Scraps' business model includes regular service, being responsive to on-call needs if there is an issue with the other one that happens sometimes is animals get in, things like that, right? And so part of their business model is being responsive and showing up promptly to address those, and that's what we've discussed so far. I have to underscore all the sites that we've discussed are tentative. There's a lot of options, but kind of the benefit of having multiple sites, right, getting an idea of where the demand might be the biggest is kind of some of the things that we're thinking.
Okay, I do appreciate knowing that it would be taken away kind of regularly, as not necessarily the biweekly model that's more standard.
No, we've discussed weekly pickups.
Okay.
At minimum, and then on call if there's an issue.
And so they have the compostable green bags. I'm a big fan of those. I'm assuming we would require compost to be in those as opposed to just tossed in from a bucket?
I'm trying to think back. My recollection is we're talking like containers that residents take home and swap out the containers. I'd love to follow up with more details on that, just so I can kind of confirm that, but that's my recollection from our discussion.
Okay, that's actually great, because this leads to one of my bigger concerns is for drop-off. This is really tough stuff, and those green plastic bags are not that strong. And so my concern would be rips inside of cars or whatnot. So if there is a program where we have a box with a lid and then we bring it and we swap it out, I really like that. That's a great concept. I would be more inclined to support option number 3 if we had that kind of modeling. So maybe we could bring how some of this would work back, because I can think of all kinds of nightmare scenarios. I would never get my compost bin in my car. That is just a nightmare waiting to happen. But so thank you for that. I think we've discussed the EPR kind of at length. My suspicion is there's nothing else we would use the EPR for. I just want to make sure that question's on the record for the public. We would not take the EPR to apply to anything else, correct? It's for the customer's bill.
That is for the customer's bill.
Okay, great. And then really clarifying, hammering home, so using real people up here. Councilmember Griffith does not participate in the city's waste hauling program. I do. If we were to go with option 2, I would get a bin and he would not.
Yes.
Okay, I think we've nailed that one down then. But can he get one? If he so chooses, could he choose to opt in just for composting, or would he have to enroll in the city program?
That is a good question. We haven't investigated that. I don't know if others have thoughts about that. My default would be you'd have to participate in the program in order to get that other program, but let me look at the room.
I think that would be our recommendation is, again, as we've talked about, the benefits of offering this service will actually draw more customers. And so we would not be offering that as an individual service. We would ask you to opt into the full city program.
Wonderful. And I am a big fan of the city's program, by the way. It works great, so I never have any issues at all. So I think those are my questions right now. My sort of recommendation here is I understand why the team is recommending option 3 here. We need the time, to Ms. Scheck's point, we need the time, we need to be able to roll this out appropriately. So I am fine with that. The question, though, is that does it need to wait? How fast can we get number 2 implemented then? Do we have to wait all the way to 2028? I really kind of hate that. Can we, maybe get one stood up as a placeholder, and then as we work on progress toward the other and get the other launched next year?
So I'm going to ask Jacqueline to come up and back up and fill in after me. What we would do is, as we talked about, where is it? Not there. It would take us, as Ms. Scheck mentioned and as Ally mentioned, or excuse me, as Jacqueline mentioned, it would take us some time to stand this up. So let me recap a little bit. We're working on reimbursements right now for the EPR. That is looking like this fall. If we were to move forward with the opt-out program, we would need to apply for a grant to buy carts. That's going to take us a little bit of time. Get the admin side of things set up for logistics, for billing, and for staffing. And so 6 months from when the reimbursements start, we're looking at spring of next year at the very earliest.
I agree. So, yeah, spring at the very earliest. And we've got to come up with a different name. The opt-out is way too confusing on number 2. And so, but I understand what you're saying. So the option to add citywide composting for existing customers, number 2, could be launched as early as spring of next year. Is it possible to do the drop-off composting in the interim, basically over the course of the next year?
Dropping off to a site?
To a site,
somewhere.
yeah.
As long as we can work out a contract with the vendor, we could have that be that interim self-managed short-term piece.
Yeah.
So if we could work out a contract with Scraps per se, as we've been talking with them, that could be in place, and then that could be the very near term, followed by number 2 or number 3.
I feel like, for me at least, that's the best option. It gives us the opportunity to educate the public, to do that engagement, to see the buy-in, to get folks sort of thinking about this. And then, we could roll this out next year and not lose so much time looking into 2028. So that's sort of my recommendation. Councilmember Pfeiffer, there are a lot of lights before
I
yours.
just want clarification, because you said a lot of things in there, and so I just wanted clarification
Okay.
what you're recommending. You're saying to go with number 3 in the interim and then move to number 2 when?
When they recommend, which right now they believe it would be spring of next year, but when the team brings it to us that they're ready to be able to launch it.
I didn't hear that. I thought any of these at the earliest would be spring, no matter if it's 2 or 3, right?
Spring for a comprehensive plan. For an interim drop-off location like Scraps would be able to help us with, that we could, as long as we can agree with them and negotiate something with them, that could be in the nearer term.
Okay. And then a year later, we'll be up on contracts negotiation. So heavy lift, possibly new contractor. Okay. Just
In
wanted to make sure.
2028, yes.
So the proposal you're saying is to do the temporary, and then a year from now, basically, do number 2, and then a year after that, we're gonna negotiate a new contract with a new person. Okay, that's
Mayor,
a heavy
can I-
lift on staff.
Can I weigh in a second?
Go for it.
Yeah, and maybe that's what you were saying at the end. So, what my concern is about asking us, we'll do what the council gives us direction to do. We have a set of priorities already that we're working on, and this would add a pretty significant amount of work to the city team, and it would require me to reprioritize some of the work that they're doing. Plus, the team, as was mentioned, they're working on the drought, they're working on the water treatment plant. There's a number of pretty major initiatives, and I appreciate Councilmember Mormon's desire for us to do it. And again, if the council gives us that direction, we'll figure it out. But I just want to make sure that we're taking into consideration what they're currently working on in the time that is taking us to get done.
And just help me walk through what the actual roulette is, because obviously we already have the enrollment numbers, we already have the addresses, we already have all of that infrastructure in place. So we would need to be dropping off carts, which Republic manages. We would need to secure carts, that much I know.
Yes.
Securing carts, the grants, the funding for all of that, that's a lift, I know that. We would need the drop-off of the carts, and then we would need the updating of the billing system.
Yes.
Okay. Am I missing anything?
I would say rollout of education and outreach. So here's what we're doing, here's what you'll expect to see. It would be likely multiple notifications. So, if you were on vacation, you missed your mailer, you would get some updates about what was coming forward.
Okay.
I'm thinking, what else I'm missing? Education, infrastructure, agreements, staff logistics.
Okay. And if we were to do just option 3 for now, and then include composting into the 2028 negotiation, what really changes there? Are we planning for this? Does it become optional? I hate kicking this can is what I'm saying.
So if we went with number 3, you would have near-term, interim, self-managed option somewhere on a property where you could drop your compost off. Stepwise, we would move through with the request for proposals for that next contract. So as part of that, composting would be a bid alternate. Vendors, please propose on what you think composting should cost. What are the scenarios that you're outlining? That would be put into place July 2 of 2028, because that's when the new contract would be effective.
Right. Okay. Well, there are a lot of lights up here, so I'm going to go ahead and let them crack. Councilmember Ambrose.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to, on the direction with the 4 questions, I'm in support of all of them, so I appreciate the thought that went into all the different financial costs. And I am for option 2, using the recycling reimbursement, because I think option 3 is pretty inefficient. That's adding an extra chore, an extra trip to people's schedules to have to go and drop things off. And I think centralizing pickup reduces trips and is a better use of energy. If you could go back to slide 22, which is in the appendix, I think this is really important, that we are delivering the lowest cost in the state of Colorado for 3 carts. For all the services for people to be able to access this, which is a huge boost to equity in Arvada, that everybody is going to have the same access. And I also want to bring up the point that I brought up last time, is that this is also about wildfire defense, because people will be able to reduce slash of their leaves, of sticks, and other organics in an accessible way. I appreciate that fire departments put up like slash, but again, that's where you have to go and drop it off. And you are only as safe as your neighbor. Do you want your house burning down because I never took care of my wood pile because I didn't have a cart coming to my house? So I feel like there's the environmental issue, it's an equity and access issue, and it's also a safety issue to be able to offer this to our residents. I also agree with Councilmember Pfeiffer that there should be community engagement meetings to talk about how important it is, so that people can kind of like, you know, put the puzzle pieces together, like, oh, I can finally get rid of that stick pile that's next to my house, you know, or that wooden fence that is up against my house. That, you know, as we do the wildfire hardening with the different zones that's getting rolled out with community engagement about how to do those kinds of things, like this will be an important access to make sure people can do that. So that's why I think we really strongly say we should go with option 2 and use the recycling program to keep our community safe. And it's in alignment with our sustainability plan, which we also have put a lot of effort into as a city about what are we aligning to, and have put priorities behind, and to make sure it's accessible to everybody in Arvada.
Councilmember Levison.
Thank you so much. So I was hearing some questions about what the downside is, and my thought is the downside is choice. If we want this long-term sustainability outcomes, we've got to build the trust and habits with the residents first, and this program has a complicated history in our community. Some residents supported the efficiency and environmental benefits of citywide hauling, and others, the big concern was cost, but the loss of choice. Because of that history, I had a couple questions for Mr. Russell and what the Sustainability Advisory Committee thinks. My first question is, how much is on your plate? And just throwing the ball around with option number 1. With subscription-based, just kind of your general thought, do you think that committee could hit a goal of 3,000?
You know, I think that outreach and recruitment, while the committee could certainly assist with that and has, as you all have seen, really shown up and stepped up when it comes to community outreach, I don't know that we could really rely on them to meet those minimum numbers. You know, I guess I defer to my team on whether how confident we are on hitting that 3,000. But, you know, certainly with some outreach and engagement, you know, kind of everything that Steve said about the inefficiency of chaser routes is, you know, it's pretty spot on. These are tough routes to run. You really lose like economies of scale, and getting people to opt in, especially at a price tag that's, you know, over $15 a month, like that's a lunch, right? That's a small meal. And for families that are struggling, that could be a challenge. But you know, I again echo kind of what we've heard elsewhere, that, you know, if that's your direction, we'll pursue it, we'll make it work, right? And I do see definitely a role for ASAC in stepping up to assist. I don't want to speak for them too much, but I'm pretty sure they'd get behind that. Anything to kind of help advance sustainability. Are we going to hit, you know, we're going to see an increase in diversion with really any of these options. The question comes down to how much of an increase in diversion, and you know, we put those bullets up there are really kind of the big trade-offs between these different options. Oh, if I can. Yeah, so, you know, these bullets really do get at the trade-offs, and these are pretty common experience in these different styles of programs. So, you know, we'll pursue whatever the direction is, but we definitely will. I mean, we can pretty confidently say we'll see the higher diversion with the citywide program, with all the trade-offs that come with that, of course. So I hope that answers.
Yeah, I think so. And just to clarify, so requests for direction, I'd say 1, 2, and 3, yes, like the rest of my council members. It's 4 that's got me wondering which path to take. what comes to mind for me is some of us do it at home, compost at home, some of us pay. I personally would pay if they're coming to my house. For me to bring it into my car and bring it somewhere, how could we implement one if we did want to do it? Would it be as soon as we have 3,000 interested? Just what would that look like?
Gosh, that's a great question.
So we would, thinking through this, we would probably send out outreach materials to gauge interest. Because if we can't meet the 3,000, we can't do the thing. And as Steve mentioned earlier, it's probably not the most efficient way to move forward. But if we were going to do that, we would have to gauge whether or not we could increase the program by that many people and then move forward from there. So that would take some time for us to do some outreach, some survey. I don't know if it's surveys, if it's mailers, if it's come in and talk to us, but we would have to gauge that because that's a significant number of people.
Could we do 3 and then as we see interest switch to 1 because those people would be showing up? So almost like could we do both kind of?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm going to.
I just think that the timing component is that we're going to receive those proposals for the next contract early next year. And we'll be negotiating that contract and beginning to set up implementation once council approves that new contract. So next year we will be focused on, implementing that transition, which will also include curbside composting as an option. So I think we'll have that updated pricing, and that'll be something that we'll be bringing back to the council for authorization next year. Again, the timing component that we're sensitive to is that under option 3, you as a customer wouldn't receive curbside service until 2028 in that. But again, it's something that the council will have authorized that service through the contract.
I think just to let everybody know where I'm at, personally, I'm kind of at don't rush this, especially with being a sensitive thing. You can't rush behavior changes and habits. You may say you're going to go to the gym every January, but it might take a couple Januaries. And we want that trust built. So I think 3 does sound great, but yeah, I would lean towards implementing things maybe July 2028. I know we would have the funds and that sounds good, but again, I think it comes down to that choice and building trust with our community. So that would be where I stand.
Councilmember Davis.
Thank you. So here we are. I've listened to what staff has recommended. I've listened to the recommendations. And I'm still, I'm up for option 3. I've lived in this community for over 22 years. And I don't know if any of you remember that there used to be cardboard recycling bins out at the shops on Old Wadsworth. And they were wildly popular. And they were so popular that then the city pivoted to, maybe we should offer, or we should start encouraging people to get recycle bins at home. And so that process started, and that took a while to catch on. And I remember pulling into Old Wadsworth, the Old Wadsworth shops with a trunk full of cardboard boxes and being horribly surprised that the bins were gone. But it caught on, and now most of us across the city do recycle. So that takes a while. I think that if we use 3 and just get ready and allow staff the runway to get ready, and that also means the billing piece that you were talking about, and it also it includes the socialization of composting, the outreach and education, and how it works, and who's doing it at home, and having people like the mayor say, hey, this is why I compost. It keeps this much waste out of the waste stream out of our local landfills. I think it would behoove us to work with Republic and show that composting, that wonderful composting project that they have up at the landfill. The mayor and I went, and the demonstration was pretty amazing and very positive. And I think if people see that and understand that things are going in the right places, they will, there's more of a buy-in, because now I see what's doing, what things are doing. It's not going to the landfill just because maybe there are pork chop bones in there or something, or that's probably not a good, a good analogy. But I heard Ms. Scheck say they're not ready to implement. And then I heard Mr. Wick say, you know, along with the wigs, we have to remember the whirlwind. And this would just be a lift that I think that we need to use 3 to do just to pilot it, get it ready, look and see how much it's used. And then when it's used, that's when we know the 3,000 homes are online. Or, hey, we thought that there'd only be this much, and we're noticing that it's 3 times as much. And therein lies the data that we're always looking for. So we can be collecting all that data while we're doing that. Also, option 3, if we get that ready immediately in the fall, we will be diverting a lot of yard waste out of the landfills. Because I know that in our yard in particular, we can fill up a 96-gallon, or is it 95-gallon cart. And so I know that we feel guilty about it, but we can't compost it. We don't have a garden. We don't grow things in our house. We eat out a lot. So I just feel like this will give staff the runway to get ready. I mean, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and if you've ever planned a wedding, you know you don't do that in 6 weeks. So I say, let's give our peeps some time to breathe and to do it right and not rush into it and do it halfway when we can do it all the way the first time.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate the discussion this evening. I guess I have a couple points I want to address that have come up. First of all, on the opt-in number 1, we already have that now. We have service providers that are providing that, and I would not expect that program to increase beyond what we're currently seeing that use of now. So I don't see that as a way to expand or increase our diversion rate, which is one of our goals. And the cost is pretty comparable to what people are already paying now for that service. So I don't see that helping to lower that cost that much. To Councilmember Levison's point about, you know, behavior change, you need the easiest option. The easiest option is having a green bin at the end of your curb. And that has, you know, studies have shown it's so much easier than recycling, actually. It's about your yard debris that you have piled up next to your house goes in the green bin. It's not about figuring out, you know, does this plastic bottle get recycled or not, and does it count? It's very simple. It's that yard debris you have around your home you put in the green bin. So it is very easy, and studies have shown that people adapt to it very quickly, and it's something that, again, many communities across the country have curbside service to collect this organic material, so it's not something new. And I think to the point about choice that's been raised is I think most of the folks where choice is their number 1 priority in our community, they've already opted out of our program. They've already made that choice. So I think, you know, when we're talking about adding a new service, that is to the folks that are already invested in the idea of having, you know, a program that everyone gets recycling and trash, and now we're adding compost to that. So I don't think it's going to impact that significantly to the folks that have decided that they want to have their own choice because they've already opted out of the program. I think those are the main points, and I guess, you know, based on the conversation thus far, I've heard from staff that it would take 6 months to get something ready for option 2. I would like to, you know, and I really appreciate the mayor's conversation on this. I would like to see if there's a hybrid that we could do between 2 and 3, because I think, 6 months and 2+ years. I don't think it's just 2 years if we put out a bid and then we have to go through that process. We're not applying for grants for carts until we've decided on a vendor who's going to serve the city under that bid. And so it's going to take longer to get those carts. And so I'm concerned that it's not just 2 years we're talking about, but even longer. And so I would like to see if we can get something, and I really also appreciate the staff's concerns about, what their demands are right now. So can we see a plan that works for our staff that is between that 6 months and 2+ years, some sort of hybrid between those two, to get us going on this? Because my biggest concern is that we have, again, as I said earlier, we have this opportunity presented to us right now where we can take something from the producer responsibility program and put it to something to add a service. And that attractiveness of making that trade-off gets less and less attractive the longer the time period goes in which you have that refund coming back to residents. And we need to be fully transparent with them. I'm not saying that, not trying to hide anything from our residents, but let's have that public conversation now to be saying we have this opportunity before us. Are you interested? If we wait 3 years, that discussion is long gone, I think. So that's my biggest concern. And so I certainly hear the staff's concerns. And so my question is, can we create a hybrid that gets us there sooner, that still works with our staff demands, but it's not 3+ years down the road or whatever it may end up being after we go through our whole RFP process?
Councilmember Griffith.
Thank you, Your Honor. This has been really helpful. I've learned a lot, and I have questions again now because my colleagues ask so many great questions and make so many good points. I think I have discovered what I would consider to be a flaw in exactly what we're evaluating right now, and I'd like to make sure that I understand this properly. In options 1 and 4, I think we're missing a bullet point, and that bullet point would be that our cost for people enrolled in the program goes down by $5 to $7. Is that right? Meaning we don't do anything. The EPR program is made to save customers recycling costs, and we're reallocating that savings to another program. I wonder, are we missing the point of that state law change? Because we're going to keep the costs potentially the same, but add another program. We're not lowering their costs for recycling. And I think that that's something that should be considered.
If I understand you correctly, I think we're speaking the same language, and that the intention of the reimbursement is to provide recycling at no cost. I think Councilmember Mormon's point is valid, that the total household cost opportunity to add a new service means that the total household cost could stay the same, even though we're adding a new service charge for composting. But the intent of the EPR program is to provide recycling at no cost, which would be really applicable in all of these scenarios for customers who receive recycling services from programs that participate with EPR, so including the city's program or any other private hauler that might participate in EPR.
Yeah, so if we're looking at slide 15, it's right up there. So option 1 would have a bullet point underneath it that says participants would save $5 to $7 a month. And option 4, no action, the bullet point would say participants would save $5 to $7 a month. Is that right?
That's correct.
I think that's a huge consideration for people when we're talking about costs and escalations. I mean, they're getting the same service they're getting today, but they're saving $5 to $7 a month. And I feel like we didn't really talk about that.
That's correct.
Yeah. For me, that's something that should be in the discussion, is all I'm saying. I love the composting discussion, I really do. I think that we're going to hear from our residents if we don't at least workshop that. And I think that, Mr. Pfeiffer, that you brought that to my attention with your question. I was like, whoa, that's significant. I think people would care to know about that. And that's my only comment.
Councilmember Pfeiffer, you are next.
So I want a couple things, because Mayor Pro Tem Mormon brought up a couple things. One, I want to be clear, in the 2028 contract, we want to have compost in there, right? We all agree that that future contract should have it in there, no matter what, right?
We're preparing that scope now, and based off of council direction, we'd be including composting as a bid option in that contract. Now, we
Okay.
could include it as a mandatory requirement or as a bid option, depending on what the council wants to see in terms of pricing.
Because today, we don't have it in our contract, right? So it'd be a bid option in that contract. Now, that contract goes effect July 1 of 2028.
Correct.
So prior to that, we would have basically 2 years right now to work up to that. So if I was to translate timing around this, and you know, being a civil servant too, it's hard to sometimes work here, right? I'm trying to figure out how to get you as fast to hit your time. I know the lift this team would take by what we're saying up here is, I don't even know how you could even cram it in. I know you guys all get to yes, and I appreciate that more than anything. But I know when we rush things, I feel like we will fail. In some way or another, we're going to fail. I'd rather be successful, and what do I need to do to help you get successful? So I started thinking about this. Number 3 is your entry into this topic. You can implement it fairly quick, and then when this is implemented and flying, we have a year after to negotiate a new contract, actually a year, because we have to have a contract in place prior to July 1, in which we would have data to decide what that looks like by saying implementing number 3, plus we'd have outreach and communication and some so forth. Putting the savings aside, just putting the savings aside, I'm just thinking process for engagement. Mark Devin would be so impressed with me right now, just so you know. That's a side note. He would be so impressed because him and I had our first fight was over on how slow government was, just so we all know. But I see why. I've seen it many, many times when we go too fast, what happens. I appreciate it, and why I started thinking about it, because actually Councilmember Davis reminded me back in the day, do you remember spring cleaning, the annual spring cleaning? I don't know how many of you were here during that. Free service. You put your bulky item on your curb, and Waste Management would go around by the city's dime, pick up every bulky item on your
Still hear about it from residents. They still want that one back.
It was an amazing thing because we were the only city that did it. Well, guess what? We centralized it now and did bulky. We went from curb to a bulk item, and we saved, I don't know, I'm looking at Brian. I remember how much we paid, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're paying so much money. It's millions of dollars to pick that stuff up.
Yeah, it started at $180,000, and the last year we did it, it was well over $500,000, and the city team did it, not Waste Services.
Well, you went around, picked it up, and centralized it, and then Waste Management picked it up, or
That's
whoever?
correct. Yeah, we stopped
Okay,
counting
that's
how
how it
much
was.
city time was involved.
Yeah, oh my gosh, man. And, but it was also a good form of recycling because your neighbors would go look at each other's, it was okay for you to go steal stuff off other people's curbs. Trust me, people did. And even people from outside the city used to come around and do it. So it was another form of recycling. But what I'm highlighting here is there is nothing wrong with centralizing something first or decentralizing it. And sometimes what we're discovering is centralizing certain aspects, like you said, the recycling. I'm thinking of how we went from curb to centralizing on bulky items. I don't see a bad idea. In fact, it's what you were talking about, Mayor, with the box, and I was trying to figure out, like, I have a little Mach-E now, and I'm trying to figure out how do I get it in there, and I was thinking your ideas. And I think if you solve that, you would pick up more customers, and then that would introduce me into the program more and more, and I get comfortable with my little box with a lid or whatever I'm doing. Not a 96-gallon can, but the chicken bones are on their way there. So I just feel like I said, credit aside, because that's a whole nother kind of spin to it. I think systematically and for timing, because we're just talking about now, we're throwing curveballs at you. But timing, come back and give us something a little bit more solid, maybe a couple months out, 3, 4, 5 months, maybe. And then by the time we get a trajectory on one of these, I think we're delaying it. Now, as far as like delay of getting cans and stuff, I think we need to really think through about grants and how we did that, because that was a huge lift getting the cans. And we've already agreed that we would do the bins, not have somebody else do it. So, man, I think that was another of all the staff getting together, putting lids on, or I can't remember what you guys were doing, but I remember that was a big lift too over at the Arvada Center. So I want to be thoughtful in this process, because I was having all sorts of flashbacks, like through this whole time listening, of all the steps the staff has to get through, assembling the cans of the bins and everything. I want to be very thoughtful because I want to be successful. And I need to make sure we're supporting you as much as you're supporting what our dream is, which is composting. We want composting to be implemented. I don't think any of us disagree with it. It's just doing it right and being successful at it. So I just wanted to remind folks about the spring cleaning, which personally I'd love to have it back, but it's way too expensive and it's too much. But that is proof in the pudding that a program, even though it's centralized, can be just as successful. So, but I still want composting at least by the 28 contract.
Yeah. Councilmember Lovasone, did you have something to add?
Yeah, sure. So I think off of what Councilmember Griffith said, I think seeing that reimbursement at a time when everyone is raising costs, if we want the long-term sustainability outcome, we need residents to trust the system. So just to clarify, 1, 2, and 3, yes. I think 4, I would say let's go with 3 and just see how it plays out from there. And also off of what Councilmember Pfeiffer said, we want to support you and not put more on your plate if it's already full. So I'm leaning towards having that reimbursement show up on folks' bills. And again, just don't rush this because behaviors and changes take a little while.
Councilmember Griffith?
Yeah, one last thought here. From an enrollment perspective, if you wanted to get more people recycling and you all of a sudden had the same product and it was $5 to $7 cheaper, I can't ignore that would be enticing for folks that are currently opting out. Maybe me. Maybe the city could entice Mike Griffith to participate in the trash program if it's $5 to $7 cheaper. That's a bargain. And Sharon Davis. So I want to make sure that I'm always wanting to look at trade-offs. I think that's a valuable exercise no matter what you're doing. And I'm not stuck on this as the only thing that I would support moving forward with, but I think it is significant. And I think I wanted to say this is a rare opportunity for government to provide the same service for a lower cost to our residents. And we just don't get that opportunity very often. So I'm just very interested in exploring that piece of it further. Also hearing more about what the composting would look like too. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
All right, there are no additional lights, so I'm absolutely hearing a consensus around option 3 is the direction for the last piece. So yes, on all the city team recommendations. Well done tonight, team. Very excited about the direction. I'm excited to learn more in a 2-3 months, whenever we're ready. Like, I actually want to echo all the comments that have been made about the lift on the city team. We want to be really respectful about that. So when we're ready, I look forward to learning more about the logistics. And a final thought is maybe 2 drop-off sites. West Arvada and East Arvada. We're a big city, you guys. Maybe one on the west side, one on the east side, just to accommodate residents, or to make it interesting, maybe one on the north side and one on the south side. We could do that too. So with that, thank you very much, Ms. Rhodes. Ms. Gray, you did an excellent job as always. We really appreciate your time this evening and all the thoughtful information and the work you put into this.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, Mr. Wick, do we have any updates from the team?
Yes.
Let's go.
Well, I wanted to talk to you all and our residents about the bulky out and pickup that we just had this past weekend. So it was a huge success. And I think what's interesting about listening to the conversation tonight and what happened there is that each year this has been getting better, growing. We had a record number this year. The city team has really done a great job of getting this down perfectly. And people get in and through. We got a lot of really positive comments from it this time. Thank our partnership with Republic for helping to make it happen. So it's just perfect timing with this conversation tonight.
Can I want to add to that?
Yeah.
Because I don't think people realize this. So I had a free drop-off for my community, for Republic, thank you very much, but they put the wrong date in. And I went, and unfortunately I had to pay. Okay, not a big deal, but just so everyone knows, when you want to drop bulky items off at Republic landfill, it's about $85 if you have a truck. How much do we pay a month to have access to do it twice a year? Oh, it's $1.69?
Yeah.
Just so, I just want to be clear with the residents as you're bringing it up, that you're paying about, I don't know, $15 a year to do bulky item twice. I went one time to drop off some cushions and some big box spring, and it was $85. But that's because it's the minimum. There's a minimum to get on the landfill. So I think it's important to highlight this is a huge financial savings for our residents for $1.69, or soon to be maybe $1.74 a month.
And I just have to jump on there because we had mentioned earlier that if you don't have a truck, you may not be able to take something. Do not forget, Mr. Griffith, Ms. Davis, if you are enrolled in city program, you may have bulky item drop-off or pickup at your house for $15 an item. That is way cheaper than fill a dump truck, okay? Just saying. And, yeah. So just noting, there are a lot of benefits to the city program.
Yeah.
Sorry, and the bulky item is one. Excellent.
That's right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Ms. Morris?
Nothing from me, Your Honor.
All right, we're adjourned.